Well, it does appear that help is on the way. We just may not recognize it as that way quite yet. It may take some time. The opening card that we have for today is the Three of Wands. The challenge that we're facing today is the Three of Pentacles. The way we're getting through the challenge is the Death card, also known as the 13th Major Arcana. The ultimate outcome that we have is the Ace of Cups combined with the Two of Swords reversed. So our energies of the reading today that we have on the table is this Three of Wands energy. And when we take the stance of this card, we can see that someone is looking out across the world to somewhere where they feel called to go. And yet they recognize that there's so much that they have to overcome in order to get there. Now, the reluctant adventurer doesn't realize that there's help out in the world that they haven't yet met or interacted with. And so in a lot of ways, they are naive in thinking that they have to do everything on their own and that they're going to get there solely by themselves. So the energy and message in this card is that while you may feel reluctant, it's important that you understand that if you feel the call to get there, then help is already on its way to help to assist you in doing that. Now, the challenge that we have that came in today is the Three of Pentacles. So here we see the master craftsman, right? They have a vision in their mind, and it's quite likely that you do too, and that you've had it kind of tucked in your pocket for some while. Or maybe it's something that you started working on a while ago that you just kind of put away and tucked away because you didn't have the means or things weren't in alignment quite yet for them to manifest. Well, that's the challenge, right? If you have a vision, how do you act on it? How do you continue to give it your energy and effort so that it can come to be? If you see that your vision is impossible and you set it at a further distance from yourself, then it's as if you just, made the Mississippi River into an ocean that you have to figure out how to actually pass, right? It's all about how we look at things sometimes. But if you have the vision, what do you do with it? How do you interact with it? And have you just kind of tucked it away? Now consider that the way that we're going to get through the challenge showed up as the Death card. And a lot of people are intimidated by this card, but I want to remind you that the 13th Major Arcana, which is what this card is associated with, is tied to the sign of Scorpio. And the sign of Scorpio, which is right now in the Northern Hemisphere, is a time where a lot of things in our external natural world are dying off because they're pulling their energy inward to survive the cold of the winter. So in order for rebirth to happen in spring, this death process has to happen. There has to be this cycle of managing one's energies in the world because we can't be fruiting and flowering and harvestable at all times of the year, right? So there's an energy to the Death card which is tying to the season and the sign that it's associated with, which is important to consider. But the thing that I think is so interesting about it is that we are in the sign of Scorpio right now, which this card governs. And what also is in Scorpio right now, alongside the sun, because we're in Scorpio season, is also Venus and also Mercury. And by the placement of the sun's equator, the north and south node are on that continuum of the Scorpio-Taurus axis, which places the south node in Scorpio. Now, why this is so interesting to me is that sometimes and oftentimes when we have this vision, let's call it, we push it so far away from ourselves because of everything that we see that we have to overcome, or everything that is possibly in our way, keeping us from actualizing it. And yet the Scorpio season brings us to a time where it's asking us where we need to let go of something. And it's quite possible that we're all witnessing aspects of ourself and aspects of our own life that we've had as part of our routine and day-to-day lives that are actually the thing that's keeping us from it. Now, I say that because we have this North Node placement over in Taurus, and we have the South Node placement over in Scorpio. And the South Node typically is pointing our direction to things that we need to let go of, things that are hidden, things that are in the dark, right? And it's interesting because at the same time that we have the North Node over in Taurus, we also have Uranus in Taurus, and we are coming upon an eclipse on the 8th where we're going to have a full moon in direct conjunction with that Uranus placement, as well as the North Node. And then we're also going to have this interesting conjunction of energies with the Sun, the Venus, and South Node. So Venus doesn't like being in Scorpio, right? Venus in Scorpio hangs on to things of the past. And so in a lot of ways, some of us may be in a time of review right now, seeing how some of those aspects of our emotional nature have actually prevented us from being present towards something that we actually want to create and build now, because we are letting our past or past situations get in the way. And so we're in this interesting time of review, right? It's interesting that we have Mercury and Venus and the Sun all over in Scorpio with the South Node, looking over things that we need to let go of, things that are ultimately preventing us from putting our energy and our direction and efforts toward rebuilding that which we actually value and that which is important to us, which is over in Taurus with the Uranus placement. Now, this is kind of a big deal because Uranus is a slow moving planet, right? It has a cycle of about 84 years. And so it is in each constellation or zodiac sign for about 7 years. So it's been creating a lot of change in places that have been stable in our lives. And we've been in this place of review of trying to see what in our beliefs are not actually in alignment that we need to let go of, and that which we actually want to put our energy and effort toward. So this eclipse that we're coming up to is a powerful time of really big endings and also really big new beginnings. And I say that because it is important for us to recognize this cyclical process around growth in our own being, right? And sometimes when things end or things shift and there's big changes, what it's ultimately doing is it's creating a new beginning or some kind of opportunity or opening that wouldn't have occurred had that change and shift not happened. So consider, and this is something that I think is important to recognize, is that help does come in interesting ways. And if you've been holding on to some kind of dream in your life, and there's been a lot that's just been in the way of actualizing it, it could quite likely be that now is the time to actually work on it. Because also consider that Scorpio, which governs this death card, is ruled by the planet of Mars. And Mars just went into retrograde on the 31st. And so when Mars goes into retrograde, it brings our energy and effort back to something that we were working on before. It's like re-engaging us with some project that we had in the past that we weren't able to complete. And it's giving us that time of completion. And so I think, the cards for today are asking you and me and all of us, like, how do we stand in our own way? And perhaps what we're getting this time and space to review right now is lending us some perspective, so that we can see that these big shifts and these big changes that are coming in our lives are actually kind of opening up the table for us to be able to put our energy and effort towards that which we really feel instinctually called to act on. And rather than, turn things over and over again with the mind, right? The Two of Swords came in reversed today. So it's asking us in a lot of ways to trust the process. And if something is out of your control, that's changing and shifting, understand that there is, something on the other side of it all that we're getting to, and that we have to be willing to be present with what is in front of us at this moment in time. I hope you all are well. I send you all a good wish. I have to admit, the cards are doing things to me. They're making me want to read them, give daily readings again. They're interesting how things keep showing up. I'll see you again soon. Bye for now.